You're listening to Beyond the Sermon, the podcast of First Methodist Church in Collingswood, New Jersey. Our goal is to not only share our sermons, but to go beyond the sermon in conversations about what we're learning and what God is doing in our lives and our community. You can find out more information about our church at fumccollingswood.org. Thanks for joining us for this conversation.
So this Sunday was your favorite type of sermon, a one-off sermon.
Yeah.
Not connected to any sort of series.
Not connected to anything.
So with that free reign, no restriction, why this sermon? Why now?
Because Jesus told me to, is really what it comes down to. I was praying about it. I knew this was going to be kind of a one-off sermon right here in between the first part of the Empowered series and then Youth Sunday, and kept praying about it, and wondered, like, is there some other part of the spiritual gifts thing that needed to kind of slot in there that I didn't quite have in my head when I set up the series, and didn't feel like that was the direction God was leading, but just kept feeling like he was saying, like, protect this week, this Sunday. Because I even thought about asking, like, some other people to preach and just kind of bringing in another voice, that kind of thing. And it was really clear, like, this passage. And ahead of time, like, before sitting down and actually working with the passage, didn't really feel like there was a clear, outside of, like, I knew what the passage was. I knew kind of the thoughts around it, but it wasn't like here's what I want to preach on, and this passage works. Felt very led to the passage, and then it wasn't until I was kind of working with the passage and beginning to outline some things and that kind of stuff that the message kind of came together into what it became.
Yeah.
And then even a little part at the end, I wasn't sure if I was going to keep in or not. Yeah, just trying to be sensitive to what his Spirit's saying and open, and then faithful to trust that he's going to take it and use it.
Yeah. And your board was very, very full with notes last time I was here.
Yeah, and that was the second board of notes.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I have a whiteboard in my office that I start writing on and outline it. For some reason, that is my process. To sit down and stare at a white screen on my laptop never leads to much writing, but a blank whiteboard apparently is great. So, I had already written out one whole set, taken a picture of it, erased it, and then written the second part.
Wow. And within that sermon, you shared a little bit about the season of life coming back from Uganda.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much that could be unpacked within that season of life. But I think for many of us sitting in the pews, we can't imagine our favorite power couple having any issues whatsoever.
Bill and Carol Doran?
Yes. And they don't, which is why our second favorite, you and Meg. Yeah, so could you give us, like, what led up to that season of life?
That season being us coming home?
Yes, where you felt like there was death in multiple areas of life. Mm-hmm. When you realized it was in the lowest valley, driest bones.
Yeah.
And how did God bring you out of that and bring things back to life?
A lot of it has its origin in the car accident that we were involved in Uganda, and in the days following that. Because it was in that season, in those few days, and the days that followed that, somehow I believed the lie that I was in it alone, and I had to carry it alone, and that no one else could help me carry it. And so what started just as a little crack between us, as time went on, as, that agreement and that lie worked its way deeper and deeper, the distance between us grew commensurately,
Commensurately? Gotta Google that. Give me a second.
Yeah, so commensurately, like corresponding to and in equal part.
That checks. Continue.
So, as that lie worked its way deeper into my heart, the distance between me and Meg spread. And, we came back from Uganda after our first term, and we got like a intensive 3-day debriefing program where we, with counselors and people who help missionaries and ministry workers work through stuff like that. We were there with missionaries who had been given 48 hours to pack up their homes and flee Sudan because they were told they were no longer allowed to be there because they found out they were in ministry and all that kind of stuff. And so went through that 3 days, and I think it was helpful, but then no one showed me like, all right, now here are your next steps. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you can hope healing looks like, that kind of thing. And so finished that up, and we're like, okay, I guess that's it. Like, this is my cross to bear for Jesus. And because the pain was still so real, I tried to shut down that part of my heart to not have to feel it, not have to deal with it. And the reality is we don't get to pick and choose what parts of our heart we shut down. And when we try to shut down a part of it, we inevitably end up shutting down all of it. And so, but we were holding on so tight to the idea that God had called us to missionary service, that God had called us to the people of Congo, that were like, well, we've got to get back, or else all of this struggle, all of this trial is worthless. It doesn't matter if we don't get to where God is calling us. And so we went back to Uganda after a lengthy time of fundraising, because I think God was wanting to do some different things in those days, and we weren't open to it. And so we went back, not in a good place. We moved to a new location in Uganda where we would, it was one step closer to where we felt like God was leading us in Congo. We were there basically on our own. There was one other missionary couple we knew of in that town. They weren't with our organization or anything like that. And so there we were, trying to figure it out on our own, all alone, and all the things that had already started happening just got more and more deeper, wider, whatever the gap between us, the pain within me, the shoving it down, the not dealing with it, all of that stuff, until we reached a point where we realized, like, we can't keep going like this. And so we ended up coming home in December of 2016. It's almost 10 years ago, which feels like at least one lifetime ago. And so that's what kind of got us to that place where, I mentioned in the sermon, like, my dream of a lifetime of missionary service, my plans for what we thought God was calling us to, our relationship itself, like, all of it just felt dry and weary and dead.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing all of that, because it is really hard. I know it's decade past, but it's not easy to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so when we came back, we found a pastor who was willing to walk with us. We found a counselor who was willing to walk with us. We went for a much longer, intensive debrief. I think it was like 3 weeks long. But then, regularly for a long time, met weekly with a counselor and pastor, and yeah.
And now we're so many years separated, still growing, still learning, and even in this year, growing a lot and learning a lot about spiritual gifts and all of that kind of stuff. And something unique to our normal worship service occurred yesterday during communion, and was wondering if you could give a little insight to that and what led
When
to
I
that.
invited people to come forward if they wanted us to pray for healing for them.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I've been feeling led toward that for a little while now, but I was trying to push it off until we could have the conversation in our sermon series about healing and distinguishing between the spiritual gift of healing and the role as pastor, shepherd, elder, whatever you want to call it, and what James says about asking for healing prayer. And so I was trying to wait until we had that conversation, but just God kept pushing on it. And so I grabbed my little vial of anointing oil before the service, but I still wasn't convinced I was actually gonna do it up until I grabbed my Bible and did it.
Yeah.
And so, just again, trying to be faithful and open to his leading, even when, maybe especially when, it doesn't track with my plan and what I think is the best strategy.
Yeah. No, I definitely knew the Spirit was doing something because I was feeling led to pray over people during communion.
Oh,
Yeah, while you were preaching, I was like, oh, okay. It just seems like I just need to be on the other side of the railing and just like start praying over people and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I've never really do that. And in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I like offer it, but not like force it on people because they might be doing something with God.
Right,
so I'm like, okay,
well, that's like the whole thing with inviting people to come and pray for healing or receive prayer for healing. I was like, it's kind of, they've got to show initiative isn't the right word, but like they've got to follow that leading.
Yeah.
And so like then there are people up there praying and you're like, or are they just praying because they're participating in communion and they just want that time with God? Or do I go over and ask them like, oh, are you still here praying because you're waiting for me to come and pray with you?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I did it right, but we're figuring it out. And
Yeah, and then you mentioned the oils. I was like, I'm not strapped. Like I don't have. So I even gave you a look. I was like, do I have to like go get it from your office or go? I was getting ready to run to my car because I think mine are with my travel Bible case in the car, and so I was just getting ready. Like, how do we make it happen? But then, it was good, and just great to see God tugging at two people on the same thing, and so that was really neat.
oh, are we taking a break for the summer?
Yeah.
Crazy. But I do think we'll pop back in a couple times over the summer.
Surprise episodes,
Kind of talk through some of what we're talking about in the series, and
send us your questions.
as they come, send questions. Still thinking about doing some kind of in-person live question answer response, because I think that could be helpful for people. It's a matter of finding the right Sunday when we're around, I'm around.
We're both here.
People are not traveling for major holiday weekends and that kind of stuff. So, but I think if we do that, that'll probably turn into some kind of podcast material.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Well, that's our conversation for today. But that doesn't mean the conversation is over. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these topics as well. To ask a question about anything we've discussed in this episode or to join the conversation, you can head over to fumccollingswood.org/podcast. Thanks for being part of this conversation.